Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. Happy Monday morning. Let's go way back today. We're going way back to 1913, the year that we decided as a country, you know what would be fun? Letting a private banking cartel print our money, manipulate our economy, and systematically drain the life force out of the middle class forever. You see, class, before we had the Federal Reserve, we had this crazy little idea called sound money. You might have heard of it. It was this quaint notion where a dollar actually meant something. You could exchange it for gold. Yes, gold, the shiny rock that doesn't care about your feelings, can't be printed out of thin air. And here's the kicker, is not run by 12 people in suits having espresso in a mahogany boardroom deciding if you eat this month or not. But in 1913, a bunch of robber barons and trust fund psychos got together on an island. Yes, literally an island called Jekyll Island, like a Scooby-Doo villain planning retreat, and said, what if we create something called the Federal Reserve? It sounds official, right? Slap the word federal on it and nobody will realize that it's just a cabal of banks with a license to steal. So Congress, in their infinite bags of wisdom, and by wisdom I mean cash, prostitutes, and future lobbying gigs, they passed the Federal Reserve Act right before Christmas. Classic move. While Americans were busy shoving goose into ovens and sending telegrams to their aunts, these psychos created a monetary Death Star. And what did they do with this new power? They inflated the money supply, they crashed the economy repeatedly, and then they bailed out themselves. Brilliant. Let me put this in terms that everyone understands. If you saved $100 in 1913 and you put it under your mattress, you'd have maybe the buying power of a McDonald's Happy Meal today. If you had put that same $100 in the hands of the Federal Reserve, they would have handed it to BlackRock, leveraged it into mortgage-backed securities, and then set your house on fire and then bill you for the water. The Fed's job? Stabilize prices. That's rich. That's like putting Ted Kaczynski on the bomb squad. Since 1913, they have presided over World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, stagflation, the dot-com bubble, the housing collapse, and the death of hope itself. And they're still like, we got this, guys, trust the process. And this is the funny part. They're not federal, there's no reserve, and it's definitely not working. It is literally the greatest branding scam in history. It makes the Fire Festival look like a well-organized church potluck. So now we live in this absurd fiat clown show where Jerome Powell plays God with interest rates. Every single economic discussion is some Rube Goldberg machine of debt and denial, and we have normalized the idea that inflation is somehow a good thing. They say 2% inflation is healthy. I say yes, just like a 2% house fire is cozy. And Americans, well, we took it. We lined up for it. We traded our gold for paper, our savings for stocks, our independence for debt, and our dignity for DoorDash. All thanks to the holy temple of fiat, the Federal Reserve. But hey, at least we're fighting inflation now by destroying small businesses, collapsing the housing market, wrecking your 401k. Good job, guys. Clap it up for the Fed. So they didn't just ruin your money, they ruined your time, they ruined the future, but don't worry, we'll fix it next quarter after one more rate hike, maybe. So today I'm going to dive into how the Federal Reserve has literally ruined everything about your life. It should be a fun one. Send this to your friends and family who don't understand the monetary death spiral that we're all living in. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It will really help the algorithm. And I do want to give you a thank you to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Horizon helps you take the trapped home equity that you have in your house. Yeah, you have 100K in equity in your house. You can take that 100K and you can take it and then buy Bitcoin with no debt, monthly payments, or term limits. The Bitcoin is fully yours to hold however you want, wherever you want. Horizon will help you every single step of the way. Click on the link in the description below and I'll talk more about them at the end of the video. All right, folks, let's talk about inflation, the slow motion robbery that nobody ever seems to notice because the thief is wearing a lab coat and it's talking like a math teacher. Every single month, the government gives us something called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. It's supposed to measure inflation, right? What they don't tell you is that CPI is about as honest as a Tinder profile picture taken in 2012. It's manipulated, it's sanitized, and it's massaged like a Beverly Hills housewife before Botox week. Oh, inflation's only 3.2%? Really? Then why is my rent up $700? Why is a ribeye steak the same price as a Taylor Swift concert ticket? And why do my dog's vet bills now require a cosigner? If you want the truth, you can go to shadowstats.com, a website that makes Janet Yellen break out in hives. It tracks inflation like it used to be measured. Before the government decided, hey, if steak gets too expensive, we'll just say that people are eating lentils now and pretend that everything is fine. But we all know that that's not economics. That is gaslighting with a spreadsheet. In reality, inflation hasn't been 2%. It's been 7%, 10%, sometimes 12% every single year. It's just been papered over with accounting voodoo and a straight face on CNBC. If a mafia boss told you that your protection fees only went up 2%, but your car is on fire and your groceries are on layaway, would you believe him? Well, welcome to the Federal Reserve. You want to know how bad it is? Well, since the year 2000, real prices, actual prices have gone up over 150%, while your paycheck has been doing its best impression of a limp handshake. The dollar is disintegrating like a napkin in a hurricane, and the government is out here saying, don't worry, we added iPads to the inflation basket, so technically your suffering is net zero. And remember, they use the word transitory. That is the line. Transitory as in, yeah, your wallet is bleeding, but don't worry, it's only a temporary bloodletting. You'll be fine once the cost of breathing comes down. You see, inflation is literally the perfect crime because it's invisible. There's no gun, there's no getaway car, just a bunch of unelected nerds at the Federal Reserve changing the price of your life while smiling like it's a TED Talk. You worked, you saved, and now your savings account is a slow suicide note written in US dollars. So yeah, keep watching CPI. It's comforting. It's very cute, like watching a house burn down while the fire department says, well, technically the temperature inside is stable. Great. Now excuse me while I take out a payday loan to pay for my Starbucks. All right, now it's time to talk everyone's favorite topic, wages in America. Since the 1970s, wages have been flat, completely dead, flat like a coma patient flat. And the cost of staying alive is so high, you'd think that we're all living in some Dubai penthouse staffed by Michelin chefs and cocaine sommeliers. You used to be able to raise a family on one income. Now you need 2 jobs, you need 3 side hustles, and an OnlyFans for your dog. And you're still $300 short for rent, and the government's like, why aren't millennials buying homes? Maybe because our paychecks look like tips, and your policies turn starter homes into lottery jackpots. Work hard and you'll succeed. Oh, I will. I've got news. You can grind, you can hustle, you can pray, and you can 10x your mindset all you want, but the reality is the finish line keeps moving because the people who built this system hate you. And I don't mean metaphorically, I mean they want you exhausted, they want you desperate, and they want you in just enough debt to behave. They dangle fake carrots like equity and 401ks while you're getting price gouged at the gas station, paying $9 for milk, and deciding which utility to keep this month. Heat or internet. Spoiler alert, you need both because it's freezing and you're stuck on LinkedIn pretending your freelance gig isn't just poverty with a logo. Let's not forget taxes either. You're being taxed like a Rockefeller, but living like a medieval peasant who just found out that the pigs have the plague. The rich, they don't pay taxes. They own Congress and you are coughing up 30%. So Raytheon can build laser-guided drones to bomb sand and your future at the same time. We're not living in a recession right now. This is the economic psychological warfare that is intended. The jobs do not pay, the money isn't real, and your retirement plan is dying before your student loans outlive you. So yeah, keep working. It is very inspiring, really. Just know that you are sprinting on a treadmill that is powering a chandelier on Mark Zuckerberg's 4th yacht. But hey, at least you have TikTok. That's nice. Welcome to the housing market, the biggest scam since the invention of hope. Remember when owning a home was the American dream? Weren't those days just absolutely beautiful? But now it is a Powerball fantasy where the prize is some 900 square foot shoebox for $600,000, termites not included. Your grandparents bought a 3-bedroom house on a gas station salary and a handshake. Now you need a GoFundMe page, a crypto pump and dump scheme, and and a kidney that you are willing to sell on Silk Road just to make a down payment. Oh, you want a yard? In this economy, the only thing growing outside your window is regret. So let's look at the numbers. In 1970, the median home was only $23,000. Today, try 436 grand. Yes, this chart is real. That's not inflation, that is criminal. If homes tracked income, they'd be about $80,000, but instead, the price to income ratio is 7 or 8 to 1. The only ratio higher is the one between your anxiety and your will to live. And for what? You pay 3 grand a month to live in some open concept luxury apartment over a Chipotle with walls that are so thin you hear your neighbor's emotional breakdown in 4K surround sound. Let me be clear, the American dream now is renting until you die and getting evicted for a bad Yelp review. And don't even get me started on the mortgages. The bank gives you a 30-year loan like you're going to live that long anyway, and by the time that you pay off the house, your kids are selling it to buy fentanyl and robot insurance. Or they're moving back in because they can't afford rent, and that is the circle of debt, Simba. And what's the government doing all this time besides offering 50-year mortgages? Well, they're giving tax breaks for Wall Street, zoning laws so strict that you'd think every new duplex was a nuclear power plant. Just build more housing. Yeah, I'll get right on that right after I finish building my time machine to 1971. So congratulations, the housing market is now a casino where the house always wins, and you, my friend, are just the chips. Maybe you'll get lucky out there, maybe you will die first. Either way, the real estate agent drives a Porsche and you drive a 2012 Toyota Corolla with no AC. That's America, baby. Grab your tent, you are gonna need it. Now let's talk about the two things that should make your life better, but in America, just make you poorer and sicker. Those are healthcare and education. First up, healthcare, the only industry in the world where you can die and still owe money. Universal healthcare? No, no, no. Here we have universal bankruptcy. You get a hospital bill and it's like someone slipped a ransom note under your door. Pay us $48,000 for an ER visit or we will take your house. P.S. We already took your house. Premiums are up over 740% since 1980. Yes, that's correct. You want to give birth? That'll be $20,000. You want to die? That will be $8,000 for administrative fees. And God forbid you get sick between jobs, because that's a fun little game of Russian roulette that we play with insulin. People are crowdfunding chemotherapy on Facebook. Do you know what that means? We are not a country anymore. We are a telethon. Call now. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can help Steve walk again after his accident at the Amazon warehouse. By the way, 60% of bankruptcies are medical bills, and in most countries, getting sick means that you miss work. In America, it means your grandkids will be paying off your own hernia. Now let's move to good old college. Invest in the future, they said. Do you remember when they said that? Do you remember being brainwashed? It will be worth it, they said. Yeah, if your dream is a job at a Starbucks drive-through with $80,000 in student loans and a diploma that's basically a receipt for generational trauma. Tuition is up 1,400% since 1980, far outpacing income. You used to work a summer job, pay for the year of college, and maybe buy a car, and now you work 3 jobs and you're still in debt until you're 50. And these loans, remember, you can't discharge them in bankruptcy. You can kill a man and walk in 10 years, but you can't escape your Sally Mae servicer. They will find you. Student debt in America is $1.7 trillion right now, which is not an education system. We are living in a debt farm for Goldman Sachs. So let us review this slide, okay? You can't afford to get sick. You can't afford to get smart, but don't worry. The government says inflation is transitory, just like your dreams. Now let's talk about families and generational wealth in America, a story so bleak that you will wish that you were born in Denmark. You ever wonder why millennials aren't having kids? Well, the answer is because babies are not an asset class. You cannot refinance a toddler to get your PMI down. The average age for marriage is now up to 30. Why, you might ask? Because nobody can afford a wedding, a house, or even a baby shower. We're having drive-by baby showers now, just like we're drive-by owning property. You wave at a Zillow listing and then go back to your $2,400 a month micro loft. You think I'm lying? Well, guess what I did all my research. I have data for you. Millennials own less than 5% of all US wealth. Correct. 4.6% compared to boomers owning over half of all wealth. Remember, these are the same boomers who paid $12,000 for a 4-bedroom and now vote for politicians who want to cut SNAP benefits so their own HOA fees stay low. The median net worth under 35, well, it's less than the average cost of a used Honda Civic. The fertility rate is now 1.6 kids per woman. Even the Mormons have stopped trying. Student loan debt is $1.7 trillion, which is the only thing that millennials are passing on to their children. Home ownership, totally forget it. Millennials aren't buying homes. They are buying succulents and ring lights, so their apartments just look less like the cell blocks that they are. Family, well, you see them at Christmas, assuming that you can afford the flight, which you can't because you blew your holiday hours on a root canal. And dating, well, everybody's on apps, swiping left on debt and right on mental illness. The most common form of intimacy now in society is sharing a GoFundMe for your cousin's rent. So why bother with kids in this day and age? Why bother with marriage? You're never going to get ahead. Upward mobility is a TikTok filter. It looks good, it isn't real, and it disappears the second that you close the app. But hey, the good news is you can still make your own found family, you and your friends all crammed in a 2-bedroom, fighting over who gets the working air fryer. That's the American dream right now, just surviving with other people who can Venmo you for half of a Domino's pizza. So now welcome to the real game. We'll talk about who gets rich, who stays broke, and why you should have been born with a trust fund and a therapist on retainer. You want to know why you're broke, why your friends are broke, why you can work 80 hours a week and still get nervous when the card reader says insert chip again? Here's why. The top 1% of all Americans now own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Read that again. It's a Ponzi scheme, but you're not even on the bottom level of the scheme. You are in the audience clapping politely while billionaires buy their 3rd yacht and politicians ask you to tighten your belt. How did we get here? Well, the Federal Reserve and their greatest hits, QE, ZERP, and oh no, the market's down, print another trillion. They pump the market with liquidity, stocks go vertical, and you are not in the club at all. Tough luck, your 401k is a total joke. Your savings account, that's just a waiting room for inflation. If you just look at the S&P since 2009, it's up over 600%. Meanwhile, wages, those are up only if getting to work from home counts as a raise. All of the real money goes to people who already have it. And if you try to save, good luck. The system punishes savers. They want you leveraged. They want you anxious. They want you buying stuff that you can't afford with money that you don't have to impress people that you will never meet. So let's be real. The Fed does not work for you. They work for Wall Street. They work for asset managers. They work for anyone whose last name is not followed by a number. They don't care if you can't buy a house. They care about market stability, which is code for keeping rich people rich and keeping you exactly where you are. Debt, forget about it. The national debt is $38 trillion and climbing. I think the national debt's going to be $55 trillion by the time Trump leaves office. You ever think that's getting paid off? Spoiler alert, you are the collateral for that debt. You, your kids, your grandkids, born in Hawk, die in Hawk. But hey, don't worry, every time there's a crisis, the Fed will just print more money. And every time they print, you get a little poorer and they get a new helicopter. It's not a conspiracy, it's just America. So here is your wealth inequality lesson. If you're not already rich, you're not supposed to get rich. And if you do, they will change the rules. But hey, there's always crypto unless you bought at the top, which in case means congratulations, you have learned about money the American way, the hard way. All right, let's bring it home. You've made it this far and you have not started day drinking yet. Congratulations. That means you're either on medication or you have transcended material existence. Let's review. We started with the Federal Reserve, those lovable vampires in tailored suits, and ended with a country where the only thing that goes up is the cost of survival. Because remember, the money is fake, the debt is forever, and the future is for the rich, the shameless, and the sociopaths that are running the central banks. Fiat currency is the greatest scam ever pulled. It's trust us, we'll manage the money, and then they lose the money, the receipts, and your will to live. Inflation is taxation without representation. You don't vote for it, it just happens to you, like jury duty or shingles. We print trillions, we hand it to Wall Street, then we give you a $600 check and a stay positive meme from your congressman. Your dollar is worth less every single day, but hey, at least you can buy a latte with your phone and pretend everything's fine. And when it all finally blows up, they will say, who could have seen this coming? Well, I will tell you who. Everyone with a calculator and a pulse, but it's fine because in America, the show must go on even if the theater is on fire. So here's your moral. Don't trust the people who prints the money. Don't trust the people who say inflation is good for you. And don't trust anyone who tells you that the system works unless you own a private jet or a congressional seat. But look on the bright side, because when the next crisis hits, you won't have to worry about your savings because you won't have any left at all. At least we're all in this together. We're all broke, we're all broken, and we're all binge watching the apocalypse. That's the story of fiat, and that's America, baby. See you at the collapse. Now you're skeptical. I get it. You think Bitcoin is for nerds, criminals, and that one guy on YouTube with the laser eyes profile pic who hasn't been in the sun since 2015. I get it, but here's the truth. Bitcoin is the one thing in this financial horror movie that is your life that isn't trying to rob you while smiling to your face. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. You know what that means? No more Jerome Powell 3 a.m. money printer benders, no stimulus for billionaires, no magical extra coins because someone felt stimulative. It's decentralized, no central bank, no government, no 12 goblins in some marble office deciding the value of your life. And there's proof of work. It's literally powered by energy. It can't be faked, it can't be reprinted, and it can't be forged by some guy in a basement in New Jersey. And here's the best part, it rewards savings. Remember that? Saving money, the thing that your grandpa did before you had to Venmo your landlord so you don't get evicted for owning a cat? Yeah, Bitcoin actually goes up in value over time because there's nobody devaluing it behind your back. Suddenly, you don't have to gamble in the stock market or in crypto or in DraftKings just to outrun inflation. You can just hold. Low time preference, that is a thing again. People think about the future. They invest, they build. Now, civilizations used to do this before we all became dopamine addicted economic serfs. And it's transparent. There's no secret meetings. There's no hidden ledgers. The blockchain is out in the open 24/7 for anyone with the Wi-Fi connection and a reason to give a damn. And for the first time in 100 years, the rules can't be changed mid-game. You can actually plan for a future without having it blown up by sociopaths and central banking or some senator's re-election campaign. So yeah, Bitcoin's volatile. It's weird. Sometimes it crashes, sometimes it moons, but here's the secret. At least it's honest. And that's more than you can say for literally anything else with a dollar sign on it. Fiat is theft. Bitcoin is freedom, and that's the closest you're going to get to hope in your entire life. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you like this content, please send this to your friends and family who need to hear the orange gospel the most. Remember, the people who are comfortable cannot see the cage, okay? Leave a comment to help the algorithm and let me know what content you want to hear next. Have a terrific week. I will be here with you every single day as we fight for the orange gospel. Have a terrific day. Do not party too hard. Class dismissed. Once again, a special thanks to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Most people don't realize this, but on average, 60% of American homeowners' net worth is locked up in their primary residence. And with home prices more inflated than ever, Americans now sit on a combined $35 trillion in home equity. Now there's a way to unlock that trapped capital and put it to work in Bitcoin. Horizon helps homeowners unlock a portion of their home equity to buy Bitcoin. It is not a loan, so there are no new monthly payments. You keep living in your home as usual, and then later when you sell, refinance, or choose to settle early, Horizon's provider takes an agreed share of your home's future value. That is the trade. Unlock cash now to stack Bitcoin by selling a slice of your home's future value while you continue living in it. What makes Horizon stand out is that there are no term limits and you keep 100% of the Bitcoin upside. The Bitcoin is fully yours to custody however you want, wherever you want, with no risk of forced liquidation. If you've been sitting on a pile of home equity and are eager to invest in Bitcoin, this may be the product for you. Visit Join Horizon Horizon.com to see if you qualify and get started. Their team of experts will work with you one-on-one from start to finish. Transform your dormant home equity into Bitcoin today with Horizon.